Hey, young person, thank you so much for joining us today. We are so grateful for the time that you are spending with us. We don't take for granted the fact that you've afforded us the opportunity that we may speak into your life. Like I said, today I just want us to talk about how to beat the odds as a young person who was born in adverse circumstances. And in today's show, I have the privilege and the honor of having a guest with me, Mr. Vilakati. How are you, sir?
I'm very fine. So how are you?
I'm well, thanks. For a young person who doesn't know who you are, would you be so kind as to introduce yourself? Tell us about who you are, where you come from, what schools you went to, and all the likes.
As introduced, I am Mpendulo Vilakati. Currently, I'm doing my third year in the University of Eswatini, Kwaluseni. I'm doing Bachelor of Electrical and Electronics Engineering. So I was born in an area called Hele in Bixby.
Okay.
And as you were introducing, you were talking about my school. It's the very same school that I went to, the one that doesn't have the roof. It's Kobolonjo Primary School. That's where I did my grade 1 to grade 7, 2008 to 2014, and then I did my high school in Sobogozan High School, also in the northern tip of the whole region. So maybe some highlights of my school days. In Form 3, I was able to be part of the best top 50 students, and from 5 I was also able to be part of the best top 3 students in the country, despite coming from the background that I'm coming from and the school that I was coming from. Because when you're talking about rural schools like Sobogozane, there were less equipments. I can remember during, in subjects like physics, something like that, they will tell us by mouth that when you mix this and this is what you're going to get. Yet, in actual fact, we're supposed to do that practically.
So you had no labs?
Like, there were the labs, but they were not well equipped. And we didn't have even the chemicals, because that school was relatively new, and also the parents, they don't have like a lot of money to pay. If I was looking at the fees for a certain school, I was like, they pay so much money. In my school, you can pay for 2 kids with this amount. It was like that. So just to talk about my home, I'm not from, I can say a stable home. I'm from a polygamous family. My father had 4 wives, but unfortunately one of them died. Now he has 3. So he had over 20 children. Then you can just imagine the life that we lived. This also explains why I started school at a very late age. Most people, actually I look younger than my age. Most people, they do not know that I started school at the age of 11. That was it.
Okay, let's take a quick break here. Just people so that they follow what's happening. You start school at 11, but at Form 3, you're one of the top 50 students in the country.
Yes.
The country, not the region, the country.
The country.
In Form 5, you are one of the top 5 students in the country.
Yes, top 3.
Top 3 students in the country. And
yes. The lowest mark I got was an 80%.
And that comes from a student who was born in a family of over 20 kids.
Yes.
Went to a school that was not in town.
Yes.
Rural areas.
Rural areas.
So success is possible for a young person out there, even though they come from such places.
Definitely. Yes, it is.
So your life story is testament to the fact that, listen, you can still excel even though everything around you is not saying or promoting excellence.
Yes.
Now, you are an author as well.
Yes.
What motivated you to write? Why do you want to sit down and just say, listen, I have some knowledge that I have. I want to share it with someone else. If I were to die here, I don't want to die with the knowledge that I have, but I want to leave it here on earth so that someone else can benefit. So I'm going to put it in a book. What motivated you to do that?
I think firstly, it's my background. I am from an environment whereby after Form 5, it's normal that once you're done with Form 5, you just go there, you go to the fields, you farm, you don't proceed to university. It's even normal that kids as young as 14, they'll fall pregnant. It's just normal. It's normal. Even if you drop out of school, it's just normal. So I wrote this book to encourage those guys. Guys, I've been here, I've been with you. You saw the results I got. It's also possible with you. You can make it despite all these stumbling blocks that you're facing, yeah.
It's tragic that you say that it's normal for a 14-year-old to fall pregnant.
Yes.
Why do they? Is it because they don't have aspirations, or is it because they can't see outside of their sphere of influence? There's just no motivation to say, listen, I can't be an engineer because someone from my community went and became an engineer.
I think it's actually the community. It's like we are so isolated. We are so isolated. Even our role models, we don't have like those people in the community that we can look up to, which is fine the way we are. We don't want to challenge ourselves, and we don't even know what we can challenge ourselves up to because we don't have the people that can challenge us. So I wrote the book to tell them, guys, there's a better life than this. We can make it. We can drive the cars that we want. We can be able to outshine those students from Gapoise. We can be able to outshine students from St. Mike's. Because we read the same books. It's the same syllabus. The teachers, they went to the same colleges. So,
are you telling me that for a rural kid, or for a person who comes from a community similar to yours, if they were to get exposure and be told, listen, there's a world to aspire to, are you telling me that these kids will then be more successful than some of the kids from the urban areas?
yes. Actually, I wasn't born like this. At some point, I was a wet blanket. I was just that person who was not motivated. It was through people like Brother Telumu Satlamin, you know that guy,
Yes.
Alex Lushaba. So our head teacher once invited them to come to our school for a motivational session. That's when my mind was open. I think I was in Form 1 or so. That's when my mind changed, and I saw that there was a better life. So if students from the rural areas were to be exposed more to these motivational sessions, we're also trying that now with the schools. And the good thing is that now there's a change. Yes.
So maybe even, can you speak to the principal a principal like the current principal at Sobogazana or any other school who is leading a school in the rural areas, and speak to them about the importance of maybe inviting these people that can then spare our young people or the students at the school to say, listen, there's a better life out there.
Yes. I think every school, they should just set out a budget for motivational session. They should invite these people who are motivational speakers. They should invite even people like us. People like us, it's even easy for us because we don't even pay. We've been doing these things with schools because it's actually from the bottom of our heart. If there's anyone who wants to reach to us, and then we can talk, we can just go there, motivate the students. Motivation is actually not what's going to make the student pass, but it's very essential for kickstarting. It helps the student to get started, and then they can continue because you also need discipline to get moving. But the motivation, you need it to get started.
Now you've written this book. Tell us about the title of the book and tell us what made you choose this particular title for your book.
Okay, my book is entitled An Oasis for Academic Excellence. An Oasis for Academic Excellence. First of all, maybe I would start by defining an oasis. An oasis is like that hard to find place in a desert where water is found. It's where animals of the wild and the people can quench their thirst. So I wrote this book during the time of COVID-19. Swaziland was like an academic desert. So there was supposed to be something like an oasis where students could quench their thirst. Because I remember during that time it happened around, it was COVID-19 and the political unrest, which also negatively affected our academics. During COVID-19, we were not allowed to go to school. We will learn remotely. During the political unrest, also, it was just disaster. Students were not allowed to go to school. Schools were banned. So, like, the academic atmosphere in the country was not conducive for effective learning. So it was like a desert. So, like, in any other, there had to be that oasis where students can be equipped. So in this book, I'm actually equipping students on how they can study remotely. I'm sharing with them how I did everything from the background that I'm coming from.
I like the way you describe an oasis, you know, because it's after walking and almost becoming desperate. When you come across an oasis, your hope is restored, it's rejuvenated. And that's what we want for our young people, to say, listen, yes, right now you may feel like it's the end of the road, but there is an oasis of sorts somewhere.
Yes.
And it's just a matter of you finding it or us bringing it to you through shows like this.
Yes. Because the thing with most people is that they think academic excellence is for certain individuals. Personally, I've gotten to a point where I think really you don't need to be smart to be able to excel in academics. I believe academics excellence is mainly a function of time. The more you put your books, but you also need to understand yourself as a student. Do I study well in the morning or in the evening? Do I study well in a group or alone? So once you understand those dynamics, then it becomes easy for you to excel.
I like the fact that you said that academic excellence is not a function of being smart.
Yeah, it's function of time.
Just being there, stick it out.
Yes.
Just go to class. As long as you are just there, at some point you're going to cross the line.
Yes, you just have to understand yourself.
And once you master how you learn and how you study, then it's possible.
It's possible because some people will spend like 2 hours to understand something that they can grasp in 30 minutes, like in the morning. Say maybe if they start in the evening. So you just have to understand yourself and choose the right company, because that's where most people are failing. Company, it's one of the most important things. We want to fit in, that's the thing.
But for the person who is in the rural areas now, where do I find that company that spurs me on, that challenges me to be better than what I am right now? Because, I mean, like, coming from the whole region, you know, everyone aspires to, you finish school so that you can go to the forest and grow the Swazi gold, and then that's the end of the story. But where do I find the people who say, listen, that's not the life. You can be an engineer, you can be a pilot, you can be a doctor, you can be a nurse, you can be a teacher. Where do I find those people?
It's very hard. It's very hard, especially because I remember when I was in Form 5, I had a phone when I was after Form 5. So we're not even exposed to social media where we can meet these people. So it's very difficult. It's very difficult. But what they can do is, I don't know. But what they can do, one of the most important things when you are like from a rural area is to be disciplined. Don't try to fit in. I remember when I was in high school, I was called names. Sometimes I'll be carrying a novel, and they'll be like, this thing is for girls, not for you. They'll call you names. So you should be willing to walk alone. Don't try to fit in. Let people fit in you. Don't follow trends. Set your own.
We now understand that our success is a culmination of our daily habits. Can we speak into that, the power of habits for young people?
My favorite quote when it comes to habits, it's by Jim Rohn. He said, motivation is what gets you started, but habits is what keeps you moving. I think now we are running into robotics. We want everything to be automated. So that's exactly habits. You need to, there has to be that, there has to be a cycle. And the good thing about habits is it only takes about 21 days to just build a habit. Students can attest to this. When you've closed, you're going to struggle maybe when school reopened for the first 2 weeks. You have to set the alarm, but then after that, you won't have to set the alarm. If you have just told yourself that you have to wake up maybe at 4 a.m., it's going to happen automatically. So habits are very important. Most people are struggling in life because of the habits that they've set. Make sure that you have good habits. You avoid things like procrastination.
And some people will take this for granted. We know that habits actually form who we are because, for example, I know that eating habits will either make you obese or they can make you healthy.
Yes.
So that principle still applies even in our academics. We excel not because we are smart, but because of the habits that we put in place.
Exactly.
So what are some of the academic habits that you would suggest some of the rural kids to put in place?
There's no substitute for daily study. You have to study every day. Every day. Make sure when you come back from school, you study. Even if there's no test, you study. You study not because you want to, not because you feel like doing it. You study because you have to, every day. Also, you have to make sure that you have a good relationship with your teachers. I remember when I was in Form 5, most students started having an attitude towards me because they felt like the teachers, they loved me. There was also this certain guy in school who was like, he was jealous when I got good marks. He was like, I will see during the exam this guy. The teachers, they love him. That's why they also give him marks. When the exam came, the lowest mark I got is the highest mark he got.
Just because of a good, healthy relationship with the teachers.
With the teachers, because you will also have access to the resources and information that you will not have if you didn't have that good relationship with the teacher. Yes.
Wow. So what other maybe life habits, other than just academic habits, what are some of the life habits that a young person can adopt? For now, we are not speaking in terms of academic success, but even just for life success.
Life success. I think one of the good habits everyone, not just students, everyone, every human being is reading. Reading opens your mind to the world of ideas. You can, no, most of us have never been to Dubai, but because of the books we've read, we know everything that is happening in Dubai.
True, yeah.
So reading is like one of the best habits that and then you have to know what to read. Probably you're into ministry, maybe you'll want to read spiritual books and everything. But people like me, I'm so much into business. I love business, so I read. Also, the content that you watch on Facebook, the content that you ingest, you should make sure that it's improving you. You can't just be following rappers and and then expect. I don't know how I can explain this.
Funny enough, you talk about the content. There's this podcast that they are pushing so hard on Facebook, and it's funny how, because this podcast, the only topic they talk about is sex, and I'm thinking to myself, and I know they are pushing it towards young people, so how can a young person be successful when the content they continuously consume is just sex related? What about content that will build you up and make you a better person? Because this then it becomes, anyway, but let's talk about goal setting. You are one person who is motivated. You are always driven.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about the power of goal setting for young people, especially for the young person who is in the rural areas, to say, listen, set a goal, and that goal may just be the reason why your family gets out of poverty?
Yes. In the early 90s, there was the richest man in America was Andrew Carnegie. He once said, if you want to be happy, set a goal that commands your thoughts, liberates your energy, and inspires your hope. So to say, goal setting is a must. There has to be a goal. You can't just be successful by chance. You have to imagine and see the thing before it happened. They usually say you have to see the end in the beginning. So goals are, they also say if you don't plan, it means you plan to fail.
Yeah, true.
That means if you don't set goals, if you do not plan, you will fail, because nothing in this earth happens by chance. Nothing happens by luck. You have to plan. Yes.
Let's look at for the young person who is in high school right now, maybe at Sobagazane or wherever in Lavumisa. What are some of the goals you would advise them to set now? Top 5 goals that maybe someone who is in Form 3, Form 4, Form 5 should set as they prepare for life success.
I think maybe we can start with the guidelines for goal setting.
Okay.
First of all, you have to set goals that are specific. They should be measurable.
Yeah.
The goals that can be visualized. they have to be written down. They have to be written down. So if you're like a student, say maybe you want to get a certain grade, make sure that you write that goal down every morning. Every morning you revisit that thing. Even when the tests come, say maybe you have set a goal that you want to get an aggregate of 80 during the examination, but then the test comes and you get a 73. You should be able to pick up yourself. One thing that is I can say it's killing more students from rural areas is lack of competition. I think I'm also a victim of that. So when you're like in rural school, most of the students, they're not so motivated. So you can just get a 50 and be the highest, they'll clap for you. But then at the end of it all, it's during the examination, you will be competing with students from St. Mike's. The students that you're going to be competing with are getting 90s. So don't just be happy just because you are a highest. If I were to tell you now I'm doing engineering, most of the guys that I'm with there, all of them, they got A stars and A's, B's. So the environment we shouldn't just be limited by, we shouldn't limit our competition like in the environment that we are in. So if you get a 6, even if everyone has failed, say maybe the second highest is 15%, you got 6, it's not the reason to be happy. We are focusing on getting 100. Maybe if you get 100, then you can start breaking and being happy.
I actually had someone speak, as you talk about competition in rural schools, I had the privilege of also spending, I think, a year or two in a rural school. And coming from a background where the passing mark was, I remember I went to Ezuleni Catholic Primary School, and when we were there, we were told that the passing mark was 75. The nation's passing mark at the time, I think for a credit was 60.
Yes.
But then the passing mark was 50. For a credit, you needed to get 60. Just to pass, you needed a 50. But we were told at school, and actually, as a matter of fact, it was during those days when students were beaten for failing.
Yes.
So you get something like 74, and you will be called at assembly to be beaten. So we were forced to pass. Yes. That was Ezuleni Primary. Then I went to a high school in the rural area somewhere in Manzini. And then I came back. When I was coming back, I realized that not before even I got back, when I was there, I would excel and outclass and outshine the other students. But when I was coming back to look at my marks to compare them with the kids that I left this side in Ezulwini, I would discover that, oops, actually I failed.
Yeah.
I'm not as good as I thought I was.
Yes.
So then I learned something from that, which agrees with what you are saying, that sometimes we need to stop competing with the people that are in our class and start competing with the world that is out there.
Yes, yes.
The people that we've not met yet.
Yes.
The people that, for example, one of my teachers was saying to me, if the last student they admitted at Wits got 95%, that was the last students they admitted at Wits got 95%, average 95%. Yes. What are you doing to beat that student so that you can gain entrance at Wits University?
Amazing.
And that question got me. I'm like, okay, I'm not working as hard as I thought I was. Yes. I'm not excelling as I thought I was. So maybe that's perhaps the concept that a young person should master, to say, I am aspiring, I'm setting a goal of going to Rhodes University.
Yes.
What's the average mark the last student got to get there? If they got 85%, so it means I need to get to 95 because I'm now competing with students from Zimbabwe, South Africa, Malawi, the entire African continent. So that becomes a goal because of where you want to go.
Yes.
Anyway, maybe self-discipline. As we set these goals, one of the things that will stand in our way is our self-discipline. Can we speak into that?
Self-discipline. I think self-discipline it goes back to habits. Doing things because they have to be done, not because you feel like. It's taking charge of your feelings, your emotions, your thoughts. That's self-discipline for me. We have to study because we have to, not because the weather today is cool or something, not because Bafana is not playing today. You have to study because you have to, not because the situations or like the circumstances are favorable. Yes.
But sometimes there are those moments. I mean, like, how do you stay disciplined when, for example, there's no food? How do you stay disciplined when your father or your mother just came to you and told you, we don't have money to pay for your exam fees? How do you stay disciplined when the circumstances around you are against you?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. I'm from that situation whereby you're position 1 in Form 2, but then now it's time to go to Form 3. You don't have the money. But then one thing I've taught myself over the years is, don't worry about a situation that you cannot change. You cannot change the fact that there's no food. You cannot change the fact that you don't have money. You cannot change that. So just do what is required of you. Even if by scale, when you say it's no problem, just pray about it. There's a verse, don't worry about anything, but pray about everything.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
There are people, I think there's someone who's listening to us and say, no, it's easy for Mpendulo to talk to us about like this because he is gifted, he's smart.
Yeah.
So it's easy for him to excel. For a young person who is not academically inclined, is there hope? Can they come from adverse circumstances in the rural areas and still go out there and excel?
First of all, I don't believe there's anyone who's not like academically inclined. I think you just have to choose. I mean, all of us, we have a minimum of 402 talents. So you cannot tell me when all the subjects are accrued. It's impossible. Maybe it's because you have told yourself the attitudes that you have towards the subject. Those are the ones that will make you, because, I mean, your attitude will always win over you. So academic excellence is mainly a function of time, as I said. So if you're able to dedicate yourself, that's why I've also gotten to a point where I define being smart as knowing what to do, how to do it, and then you do it. That's being smart for me. This mathematics, you know what to do, and then you know how to study it. Because some people, they'll know, I have to start, they'll be always carrying the books, but then they do not know how to.
Yeah.
Or some people, they know, would say, I have to study, I have to do it this way, but they don't do it. So if there's anything like someone who's not smart for me, is someone maybe who's lacking those 3. But if you know what to do, how to do it, and then you do it, you give yourself the time. I've also had the privilege of being a tutor. Actually, that's how I make ends meet now. I tutor students, more especially those who are doing maths, like in Kwaluseni. I've met students who had challenges with maths. Lento being shy for high school then. But then I said, relax, I'm here for you. At the end, you will hear them telling you that no, maths is not difficult. This thing is easy.
So I'm hearing you to say, maybe the problem is us, we think we are smart or not smart because we are competing with the next person instead of competing with ourselves.
Exactly.
So if I were to tell myself, okay, I'm competing with the performance that I had yesterday, I want to improve that performance, then I am smart, because if I get 2% more, I'm smart because I've improved.
Yes, you've improved.
Even if the other person gets 20% more and they've improved by 30%, it's their lot. My lot is I've worked hard for this one and I'll keep improving my marks until I get to a point where I'm satisfied.
That's the thing. You have to compete with yourself. Don't compete with other people. Compete yourself. Because when you compete with someone, then it means once you achieve that person, I mean, you're resting. We have to constantly improve. Today I get a 20. Next time, I want, even if maybe say in the first test you get 20%, then the second test you get 30. It's improvement. That's what we want. Don't just become, because once you compete with people, I mean, it comes with a lot of depression, especially when you don't get the desired results.
Now, poverty is part of our story as a country. For the young person who's coming from the rural areas and comes from that background, how can they use their poverty? The fact that they were told they can't get ice cream when the other kids were eating ice cream, the neighbors' kids had ice cream. The fact that they were told that they couldn't go to school because the parents didn't have money. How can they use that as motivation to say, I want to succeed so that my kids don't have to go through what I'm going through?
I think one of the most important things, especially when we are in a rural school, is having, the right company. Having the right company. I remember when I was in high school, we didn't have the means, but we made sure that every chance that we get, we would start. There was this song that was trending, it's "Aglaleg na unemali," and then we will translate it and say, "Aglaleg na ungati." Ulala njani ungati? Yabona, that's the company. We always pushing each other. Asna lifa, we're not like those people. Asna lifa, we have to build lifa for our kids. That's the attitude that we had. That's what pushed us.
That's beautiful. Now, for someone who wants to pursue, as we draw towards the end of this discussion, for someone who wants to pursue a career in engineering, what are some of the academic traits that they have to have? What sort of academic person should they be?
I think it has to, before you even choose anything, not even engineering, you just have to love what you want to do. Talent is not enough, or maybe being gifted in that thing, it's not enough. You have to love it. Make sure that if you want to do engineering, the first thing is you have to love it. And then make sure that you have the required skills, because we are wired differently. The people who are good in maths, maybe some, they feel like they're good in English. So make sure that you have like the right skills for that. Especially maths is everything. Make sure that your brain can work fast.
What book are you currently reading for your personal growth, if any?
Thinking. Grow Rich.
Any podcasts you're currently listening to or watching?
I'm a big fan of Vusi Tempekayo. Hardly a day passes without his clip on my status.
Who's your role model in terms of maybe people that we know, people that are out there, that are famous, so to speak?
I think I'm a big fan of Vusi Tempekayo. I'm a big fan of Vusi Tempekayo. I always listen to his every day, every morning. There's even a notification whenever I upload something, be it on Facebook, WhatsApp, Facebook or YouTube. There's always like, that guy inspires me. And he has greatly shaped the way I am.
What's your number one goal for the next maybe 5 to 10 years?
Listening to Vusi Tempekayo has changed me. Because I think now I'm one person like I want to get into business.
Okay.
So once I'm done with school, say maybe I get a job, but obviously I cannot live with a salary alone. There are already things that I'm planning to do. I'm planning to invest somewhere.
So business, politics maybe?
No.
No politics.
No politics.
Oh, well, young person at home, so thank you so much for the pleasure of your time today. I hope that for the young person who is in the rural areas, or maybe you're even in the urban areas and you can relate to what we are talking about, I want you one day to just go and say, listen, thank you for that conversation, it spurred me on, and I'm going out there and I'm living my life. And don't forget, young person at home, to get in touch with us via our Facebook page, Be the Best You Can Be, and get in touch with us. Tell us how this ministry is impacting your life. Tell us how the testimonies and the discussions we're having on the show are touching your life, because we would really, really appreciate to hear from you. Anyway, till we meet again, may God bless you. Nakupenda sana.